Hey everybody, my name is Will Martin, and I'm a family nurse practitioner working in the emergency department, for those who don't know. And I've been a nurse practitioner for 27 years, been an RN for 6 years beyond that. So I've been in the business for quite a while. And before I go any further, I want to say Happy Nurses Week to all the nurses that are out there. It's amazing the job you do. You don't hear that enough, and I do try to say thank you to the nurses that I work with, but I know it's still not nearly enough. What you guys do on a daily basis for me, for all the providers, the PAs, the NPs, the physicians, you keep your patients safe, and you certainly watch what we do, and you're there to correct us when we need to be corrected. Let's face it. I mean, you've saved a lot of lives by being an advocate for your patient more often than not. And I respect it. I notice it. I see it. And thank you very much. One more thing that I do want to say in regard to that is I'm amazed to see the young men and women that are getting into nursing right now that demonstrate the compassion and the patience. I just don't see that in a lot of people in their early 20s, but we're seeing quite a few really remarkable people getting into nursing right now. And I think that bodes very well for the future of the profession. I hope those folks continue to stay with it, and I hope they continue to advance their education as they see fit. And if they're comfortable staying right where they are, that's cool too. No problem there. What I want to talk about today is just a little unscripted talk about aging. And, I'm starting to accept the fact that I'll be 61 later on this year in August. And I still, honestly, I don't feel old. In my head, I still feel like I'm, maybe 38 or 39, somewhere around there. I go to a gym, I work out really hard. I go to a conditioning and strength program. And, I get a lot of confidence from that because I'm working alongside 30-year-olds and I feel pretty good. But it doesn't change the fact that the calendar tells me that I'm going to be 61. And with that, there's some inevitable changes that occur. And so, for a lot of people, when they're doing a job in healthcare that requires a lot of lifting and pushing and pulling and tugging, you start to feel it more. And probably, if I was to name one thing that I do notice more, is that I get more tired more easily, and I'm not into the night shift anymore. And that's one thing that our group has decided, that anybody 55 and older doesn't have to work night shift, and that goes for physicians and PAs and NPs, everybody. So that's a welcome. It's a welcome step in the right direction for me, because not that I couldn't work night shift, I could do it, and I'd survive it. And in some ways, I'd still like it because I kind of like nights. I like the vibe of night shift, but I'll tell you, it takes me a lot longer to recover from a night shift, or even a late evening shift. We have a shift that goes from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. And by the time you get out of work, it's 3:30 in the morning. So you're getting home, it's 4:30. I mean, pretty much you're working a night shift anyway. And, that wrecks me, you know. So I think that's one thing that I've noticed getting older, is that I don't have the reserve energy that I used to have. And I think that's something that, our younger healthcare providers have to realize, that if they're working alongside the a little bit more seasoned people, they're going to start to feel maybe a little run down, a little tired near the end of the shift. So be sure that you have compassion, not just for yourself, but for your colleagues as well, and understand that those that have been in the business for a long time have seen a lot and done a lot, and they do deserve a little bit of courtesy. Now, on that same note, an interesting article from the Wall Street Journal that I read earlier today talked about the millennial generation, which is essentially people born between 1980 and 1996, and that those people are starting to enter the age where they don't necessarily feel old, but they don't feel young anymore. So the literature kind of says that when you hit your early 40s, you're not necessarily feeling young anymore. Now, I dispute that, because, I had my daughter when I was 42, and she's 18 now, and it was great. I mean, at 42, I was certainly, I had my son at 38 and my daughter at 42. And there was just the right timing for me because I had, gotten all of the fun out of the way ahead of time. And so, I was really ready to raise kids. And, for those that don't know, I went through divorce. And so I've raised my kids on my own for the last, 13 plus years. But anyway, I still to this day, I don't feel old, but it's an interesting concept. The literature also says that when you hit your 50s, like 52 or 53, is when most people really start to feel old. In your 40s, you just don't feel young anymore, but you don't necessarily feel old. But when you're 52, 53, that's when you start to feel old. And I have to say, even in my early 50s, I didn't feel old. But I do recall I had an NP student that was working with me, and this was about 9 or 10 years ago. So I was probably in my very early 50s, and I was precepting her, and we were working a shift that would get out around midnight. And it just so happened that the residents, their shift would end, their 4 to midnight shift would end around midnight. And so they would quite often go out to a bar afterwards. And there were a few times that, my student and I were like, okay, yeah, we'll tag along. We'll come out to the bar. And for a little while, I kind of felt like I sort of kind of belonged, with their conversations and all of that. But then it's like something just came over me where I suddenly woke up and said, I don't really have anything in common with these people. They're, 20, 30 years younger than me. And that's, that's stuck since then. I just don't feel like I have a whole lot in common with them anymore. And I've started to refer to them as the kids, and it's true. I have such an age gap between myself and them that they are kids. I mean, all of them are certainly, my kids. So if you're in healthcare and you're getting a little bit older, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on age and working. It brings up the topic of retirement for me. And quite often I see folks that I'm working with that are retiring, even before full retirement age. I know some that have retired in their late 50s, especially during COVID. A lot of people decided to just hang it up and retire early. And I'm looking at, my 401k, which has tanked over the last couple of years. And I'm thinking I might really have to work until I'm 67. So I'm kind of planning on another 7 years of doing this. And so it really makes me think, how do I maintain my health and my energy and my motivation for another 7 years? And, will I stay in the emergency department or, maybe just do hyperbarics and wound care, which is certainly a lot less stressful. And that may be my out. So tell me what you guys are going through. If you're going through the same thing where you're getting a little bit older and you're, maybe looking for maybe a little bit softer, cushier job, or are you thinking about retiring early? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. So I just wanted to throw this little unscripted thing out there tonight. My goal for this channel is to talk about a variety of different things. And that's my fears, that sometimes I'm going to go in too many different directions, because I am interested in retirement. I'm interested in folks that are advancing their education. I'm interested in folks that have been practicing for a long time or want to know what it's like to practice for 30 or 40 years and maintain your sanity. There's a lot of things that I can talk about, and there's a lot of directions that I can go in, and sometimes maybe too many directions. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to kind of give me an idea of what you'd like me to talk about on this channel. And also, if there'd be any interest, maybe once we get the subscriber count up a little bit more, to do some live streams where we can talk about education for those people that are interested in graduate degrees or DNPs or getting their PhD. Those are all things that I can talk about. and I have some very clear ideas on that sort of thing. Those that are interested in fellowship programs in emergency medicine, I run a fellowship in emergency medicine for nurse practitioners, and I've got some experience with that too. So um, tell me what you think, and tell me whether live streaming might be something that you might be interested in doing, because I could certainly set aside like one evening a week, or maybe a couple evenings a week, and just come on for 30 minutes or 45 minutes and just chat. I think that'd be pretty cool. It'd be a lot of fun. So I appreciate your thoughts, and I hope you have a great evening. And I'll talk to you soon on the next video. Okay? Thanks. Bye.